What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Daily Rollup. My name is Kagan Dunlap, and every Monday through Friday, we put together a 5 to 7 short story, basically news brief of things that are happening around the world to provide you with some information that's kind of wave tops to keep you informed about the things that are happening around the world in an easily digestible format. So I'm not going to waste any more of your time. Let's get right into it. So today, August 26th of 2025, marks the 4-year anniversary of the attack on Abbey Gate at Hamid Karzai International Airport during the evacuation of Afghanistan in August of 2021. I wanted to take the first segment of this video to kind of just remind people of the names of the individuals, where they're from, and how old they were when they passed away, because all 13 of these people deserve to be remembered for the sacrifices that they made. And I know that their families will appreciate you taking 5 minutes out of your day today just to listen to their names, say their names out loud, and breathe life into the memory of these people, okay? Because as long as we remember to mention them every single year and say their name, then their names will never fade into obscurity. And I think that more than anything, the families will appreciate people remembering the sacrifices that their children made. So I'm going to take a second to just read through everybody's names, where they were from, and how old they were. And then we'll move to the next video. But I wanted to take this as the first segment, so we make sure that we took time to say their names today. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Riley McCollum, 20 years old. Jackson, Wyoming, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Jared M. Schmitz, 20 years old, of St. Charles, Missouri, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. Marine Corps Lance Corporal David L. Espinoza, 20 years old, Rio Bravo, Texas, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. Navy Hospitalman Maxton W. Soviak, 22 years old, of Berlin Heights, Ohio, 1st Marine Division, Camp Pendleton, California. Marine Corps Corporal Hunter Lopez, 22 years old, of Indio, California, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Kareem M. Nakui, 20 years old, of Norco, California, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover, 31 years old, of Daggett County, Utah, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. Marine Corps Corporal Dagan William Tyler Page, 23 years old, of Omaha, Nebraska, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. U.S. Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Noss, 23 years old, of Corryton, Tennessee, 9th PSYOP Battalion, 8th PSYOP Group, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Marine Corps Corporal Humberto Sanchez, 22 years old, of Logansport, Indiana, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. Marine Corps Sergeant Yohani Rosario Pichardo, 25 years old, of Lawrence, Massachusetts, 5th Marine Expeditionary Brigade, Naval Support Activity, Bahrain. Marine Corps Sergeant Nicole L. G., 23 years old, of Sacramento, California, Combat Logistics Battalion 24, 24th Marine Expeditionary Unit. Marine Corps Lance Corporal Dylan R. Marola, 20 years old, of Rancho Cucamonga, California, 2nd Battalion, 1st Marine Regiment. And I get, saying their names out loud may not seem like a lot to you, but it means a lot to the families, like I said. So please remember the 13 of these individuals today. Say their names out loud. If you were friends of theirs, talk to your friends about them. Tell stories about them, keep their names alive. So, and I'll try to do the same every year. In addition to that, I just want to highlight that there was an executive action taken by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, to commemorate the 4th anniversary of the attack at Abbey Gate 2025. And it was released on August 25th. I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I am going to read the last part that I think is the most important, which is, as our nation solemnly marks 4 years since the attack at Abbey Gate, we honor the memory of the 13 brave souls and every military service member to ever die in the line of duty. And we renew our resolve to protect American lives, defend American interests, and uphold American sovereignty. Now, therefore, I, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim August 26, 2025 as a day in commemoration of the 4th anniversary of the attack at Abbey Gate. I encourage all Americans to remember the heroism of the brave men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice for our country and the Gold Star families who carry on their proud legacy. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand this 25th day of August in the year of our Lord 2025 in the independence of the United States of America, the 250th. Donald J. Trump. Again, Just take 5 minutes out of your day, read their names off, and remember them. So on August 25th of 2025, the family of Nimrod Cohen, who is a 20-year-old Israeli Defense Forces tank gunner that was kidnapped during the Hamas-led attacks on October 7th of 2023, publicly released video footage and images showing the moment of their son's capture near the border of Gaza. Now, Cohen, who was 19 years old at the time of the incident, was serving in a tank crew when Hamas militants attacked, and he was the sole survivor among his 4 crew members who lost their lives during the assault. Now, the material was originally filmed by Hamas members and later recovered by the Israeli Defense Forces during recent combat operations in Gaza. The released footage, which is roughly 73 seconds long, where it shows a chaotic scene around a damaged Merkava Mark IV tank, Israeli tank, by the border fence. It starts off with the militants surrounding the vehicle and then climbing onto it amid dust and smoke and debris. And then it shows them pulling Cohen out of the turret, appearing to be disoriented. And then they show them pulling him from the tank and being escorted away on foot across a sandy open area towards Gaza. Now, the family held a press conference to announce the release, aiming to highlight Cohen's ongoing plight and pressure Israeli leadership in order to secure a hostage deal. Cohen's mother, Vicky, described the video as, quote, every mother's worst nightmare. And Nimrod Cohen remains as one of the hostages still held in Gaza, having been captive for over 688 days now. Footage like this that was released is just another example of why there is such animosity towards Hamas and why I don't personally see them ever being able to reconcile. Like, I don't think that they're ever going to be able to reconcile with them. Regardless of how you feel about either side, I just don't believe there's any way that the Israelis are going to be able to reconcile with Hamas. I don't think it's going to be possible. So on August 25th of 2025, President Donald Trump announced during a White House address that he was going to be allowing up to 600,000 Chinese students to enter the country for college studies. And the way that he framed it was as a gesture to China amid the ongoing trade negotiations with them. Now, this is a significant increase over the current enrollment of approximately 270,000 Chinese students in U.S. universities. Now, the U.S. and China trade tensions are obviously high right now, including the fact that recent U.S. tariffs of 145% on certain Chinese goods and China's retaliatory 125% tariffs on U.S. exports, although both sides agreed to pause further escalation in May of 2025. Now, these remarks were made ahead of a meeting with the South Korean President Lee Jae-myung, and the president expressed openness to meeting Chinese President Xi Jinping, noting that the U.S.-Chinese relationship is important despite the tariffs bringing in revenue. So let's hear what he had to say.
As you know, we're taking a lot of money in from China because of the tariffs and the different things, and it's a very important relationship. We're going to get along good with China. I hear so many stories about we're not going to allow their students, or we're going to allow their students to come in. We're going to allow, it's very important, 600,000 students. It's very important. But we're going to get along with China. But it's a different relationship that we have now with China.
So Brigadier General Ephraim Defrin, who's the current head of the Israeli Defense Forces spokesperson unit, released a public statement on August 25th of 2025 via the IDF's official X account and other platforms in regards to the strike that took place at Nasser Hospital that resulted in at least 20 deaths and numerous injuries, among which were 5 journalists, paramedics, and other medical workers. And this is the response that they released, so just so you can hear it. I'm not going to interpret it. I'm just going to let you hear what they said.
Earlier today, IDF troops carried out a strike in the area of Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. We are aware of reports that harm was caused to civilians, including journalists. I would like to be clear from the start. The IDF does not intentionally target civilians. The IDF makes every effort to mitigate harm to civilians while ensuring the safety of our troops. Any incident that raises concern in this regard is addressed by the relevant mechanisms in the IDF. We are operating in an extremely complex reality. Hamas terrorists deliberately use civilian infrastructure, including hospitals, as shields. They have even operated from the Nasser hospital itself. Hamas began this war, created impossible fighting conditions, and is preventing its end by still holding 50 of our hostages. Having said that, as a professional military committed to international law, we are obligated to investigate our operations thoroughly and professionally. The Chief of the General Staff has instructed that an inquiry be conducted immediately to understand the circumstances of what happened and how it happened. Reporting from an active war zone carries immense risk, especially in a war with a terrorist organization such as HIMARS, who cynically hides behind the civilian population. As always, we will present our findings as transparently as possible. We regret any harm to uninvolved individuals and are committed to continue fighting Hamas while taking all the necessary precautions.
Interestingly enough, apparently there are recent reports that are indicating that the People's Liberation Army of China has incorporated unmanned mobile mock-ups of the US M142 high mobility artillery rocket system into its military exercises, also known as HIMARS. Now, these replicas are produced by a private Chinese company apparently and are designed for training purposes and are capable of limited export. Now, there's videos circulating online, especially on Chinese social media platforms, demonstrating these mock-ups in action, showcasing their mobility and resemblance to the US M142 HIMARS systems. Now, the mock-ups are unmanned ground vehicles that imitate the HIMARS appearance and movement, including a launcher pod mounted to a wheeled chassis. They're equipped with features like heat emitters to simulate the system's thermal signature, making them useful for realistic training scenarios like target identification, reconnaissance, and counter battery drills. Now, production of these things is in pretty small batches for right now, and the company is open to customize orders for broader military applications. Now, something that's worth mentioning or noting is the fact that the camouflage pattern for these M142 HIMARS replicas are the same type of camouflage that the Taiwan Army HIMARS has. Coincidence? I don't know. Maybe. Now, Taiwan received its first batch of 11 HIMARS systems from the US in late 2024, with an additional 18 units scheduled for delivery by 2026, bringing the total to 29. The systems have formally been tested in May of 2025 during Taiwan's, quote, Thunder military exercises at Jiping Base, where they demonstrated precision strikes from M30 and M31 guided rockets. This acquisition of HIMARS from the United States enhances Taiwan's long-range strike capabilities with ranges of up to 300 kilometers away using the Army Tactical Missile Systems, or ATACMS, which allows potential targeting of coastal areas in China's Fujian province across the Taiwan Strait, which is pretty legit. So Ukrainian forces have recently deployed M2A2 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles and counterattacks against Russian positions in the Eastern Front, particularly on the border areas between Donetsk and Dnipropetrovsk. Now, based on what some people have been seeing, it appears that this has been pushing back Russian advances in the region where Russian troops have been attempting to break through near villages like Voron. And this breakthrough of these M2A2 Bradley vehicles started getting spread all over the place on August 25th of 2025, showing some pretty intense engagements while they're driving down a road, being shot at from either side by Russians that are entrenched in the tree line on either side of the road. Now, the Eastern Front, especially around the Dnipropetrovsk border, has seen escalated Russian assaults in recent weeks, since Russian forces have been targeting a lot of the settlements in the area, aiming to exploit gaps in Ukrainian defenses. Now, the village of Voron, located in the Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, has become kind of a focal point for these counter operations, with Ukrainian troops working pretty adamantly in order to secure roads and clear enemy-held tree lines. So on August 25th of 2025, the Venezuelan president Nicolas Maduro, whether you believe he's legitimate or not, announced the deployment of approximately 15,000 troops to the country's border of Colombia, bolstered by boats, aircraft, and drones. Now, this move is being framed by Venezuelan officials as an effort to combat drug trafficking and protect national sovereignty, with the Interior Minister Diosdado Cabello stating the deployment aims to, quote, guarantee peace and prevent any unauthorized border crossings. Now, this action took place heightened tensions between the United States and Venezuela, especially since the United States has offered a very high reward for any information that could potentially lead to Maduro's apprehension and arrest. And also because the U.S. has recently sent 3 warships carrying more than 4,000 sailors and Marines to the southern Caribbean region as part of a counter-narcotics operation targeting drug cartels. The U.S. State Department has also accused Maduro of being the biggest drug trafficker in the world, and said that he was the biggest reason for any type of illicit substances coming into the United States. Now, the U.S. deployment, which may reach Venezuelan coastal waters by the weekend of August 30th through the 31st of 2025, is part of a broader effort under the Trump administration to disrupt Latin American drug trafficking networks. Now, as of August of 2026, the situation is still tense, but hasn't escalated to any direct type of confrontations, although both sides are emphasizing their operations as defensive or law enforcement based. Now, the 3 ships that are currently down there as part of the Trump administration's counter-narcotics operations against drug cartels are 3 Aegis guided missile destroyers, the USS Gravely, the Jason Dunham, and the USS Sampson. Arleigh Burke class vehicles, each capable of carrying around 300 to 400 personnel, and they're equipped for multi-domain operations, including air defense, anti-submarine warfare, and surface strikes with capabilities like Tomahawk cruise missiles and advanced radar systems. Now, there have been some reports as well that said there's some alternative vessels out there like amphibious assault ship USS Iwo Jima and the amphibious transport dock USS San Antonio, as well as the dock landing ship USS Fort Lauderdale. But that information appears to be inconsistent or erroneous, since the majority of sources, including U.S. confirmations from the Pentagon, specify the 3 destroyers listed above and not the amphibious assault ships. So, as far as how this is being framed from the Pentagon, they're framing it as operating in international waters for intelligence, surveillance, and potential interdiction efforts, with no current indication of direct incursion into Venezuelan territory as of August 26th of 2025. All right, guys, that's it for the daily roll-up for today. I appreciate you sticking around till now because it really does help the channel. It helps enable me to continue to do these things so I can keep providing information to you guys and keep people situationally aware of the world around them. Another way you can support the channel is leave a comment. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about the video. If you thought it was good, bad, or indifferent, or if there's things that you would like to see in the future, please let us know in the comments. We do read them. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you in the next video.